So you should have looked at the connection between the market for loanable funds and the currency exchange market, right? So let's say that we have our market for loanable funds. Right, and here we have downward sloping demand, upward sloping supply. Right, this comes from I plus NCO. This comes from national savings. And we said that the connecting variable is NCO. Right, so here we have NCO. Here we have the real interest rate. Here we have the real interest rate as well. Here we have the quantity of funds. And in this is NCO. This is the market for foreign currency exchange. And this is the equilibrium interest rate, which dictates where we have our NCO, which dictates the supply here. Okay. The demand here comes from NX and the supply from NCO. This is the real exchange rate on the y-axis. And here we have the quantity of dollars. So remembering that the supply comes from national savings, which is comprised of both private and public savings. So if the government runs a budget deficit, a deficit would imply that the government is spending more than what it's getting in tax revenues, right? So it has, in other words, it will have negative savings, right? So it'll eat away at national savings. That means that our supply is going to decrease, right? So it's going to shift the supply curve to the left, okay? If the government spends more than it earns in tax revenues, then that means that there's going to be less national savings. So the supply is going to shift to the left, and we're going to have our new I, right? And that's going to give us a new place in our NCO. And that's going to give us a new supply in the foreign currency exchange market, right? So if you look here, this was the initial real exchange rate. And because of the shift to the left of the supply curve here, we have an increase in the real exchange rate, which means that the dollar appreciated, okay? It's an appreciation of the dollar. So if there's a budget deficit, then the supply of loanable funds is going to shift to the left, right? It's going to decrease, so it's going to shift to the left. Right? What happens is that the real interest rate increases, right? Okay? And that decreases NCO. So if we look here, we go from point A to point B. If you look at your x-axis, right, x is increasing as you go to the right. So we move to the left, which means that NCO is getting smaller, it's decreasing, okay? This decrease in NCO is going to shift the supply in the foreign currency exchange market to the left. Supply to the left. And that is going to appreciate the dollar. All right, we're going to have a higher exchange rate.